Oh yeah, Sparkle's here.
Hey Todd, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Sparkle?
Right? I'm good. How are you?
I am tired, but all in all, really, really doing well.
Yes. What? Why so tired?
I went to the gym
Oh, okay.
and then I coached, and I actually worked out, and I don't work out much anymore because I'm lazy
Oh,
and unmotivated. Uh, but I did. I worked out this time, and so I'm a little bit tired.
yes. Good. You worked out.
Yeah, I suppose it is good. That's what they keep telling me. So
Yes.
yeah,
It does. I see a glow in your face with the endorphins that you have released.
you know what? I thank you. Right. Well, welcome. I'm so glad that we got an opportunity to connect. Frank Sinclair, I think,
Yes.
mentioned you and I should chat.
Yes.
It's fascinating. Frank is just an interesting connector.
He
Of
is.
people. I love him. And yeah.
Frank is amazing. I like his perception on a lot of things.
Yeah.
His perception on just life in general, the different experiences that he's had has just been pretty cool to hear him talk, the way he looks at life, the way he looks at things, his perception. He's just unique in his own self. So
Yeah.
he's definitely got really good advice. He has good advice, you know?
I agree. Yeah, I don't get an opportunity to talk with him much, but when I do, I always come away feeling more wise and uplifted, mayed.
Yeah.
Right.
You feel inspired?
There we go. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So he said that he said you've got a fascinating story.
Yeah.
And then you said something about when you're I think in the message when you were scheduled our coffee chat, you said something about like journey and pain and processing stuff, and I'm interested. To what do I owe this pleasure? What do I owe this great pleasure?
Emotions. You know, I have a long my life has been, I'm 35 years old, so I'm still learning a lot of things, but one of the biggest pieces I've been or had the opportunity to kind of look at are emotions through my journey. There's a lot of emotions that I've suppressed, you know, and a lot of people, when you talk about emotions, people run, you know, or, you know, you made the comments, you know, I asked you, how are you today? And you said, I'm feeling tired, right? And so I asked what was underneath being tired, because I'm really into these emotions, you know, I'm into these feelings and how people are feeling and trying to meet them where they're at, and then also meet myself where I'm at, you know, for the day or for the moment. So I noticed, you know, in my story, everything that happened to me, especially being a recovering alcoholic addict, I noticed in my story, a lot of the suppression I was doing was of emotions. Going through the motions, making it seem as if I was really respecting those emotions, right? But ultimately, I was trying to walk around them or act like they weren't there, you know, just kind of distracting myself from myself by using, you know, and by drinking and doing those things. So when I decided to take my life back and start living for me, I had to start learning about the emotions. And boy, oh boy, have these emotions hit me. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm sad? What is going on? I don't want to cry.
Yeah. You get it.
Yes. So through my emotions, you know, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of stuff happened, you know, through my life, especially being an athlete, being a basketball player, being executive for 3 big box companies, you know, battling 3 autoimmune conditions, going through forms of chemo and still drinking all through this, you know, just trying to be this superwoman that really doesn't exist, because we know Superwoman is not like real, but I mean, I wish I could be, I wish I could be Superwoman, but let's be realistic, right? So being told that, you're the greatest at what you do. This is what you do. This is how we deliver. This is where we're at. You don't have time to feel emotions. Only thing I had time to do was think of being Superwoman. I was told, you're Superwoman. You can handle it. We can put everything on your back. You're a strong Black woman. That right there, we could go for days on that comment, right? I always look at it and I'm like, actually, I think I'm a woman of many strengths, but a strong Black woman's quite a bit. It's a stigma, right? I didn't realize that, going through emotions. I was just like, forget it. I'm sad. Let me suppress it. Let me have a few drinks. Let me keep moving. I'm stressed. It's okay. I just need a drink. There was never I'm sad, and not why, because you don't have to have a reason to be sad, right? But why don't I investigate why I'm sad?
Yeah.
Really focus on that. Really actually pinpoint why emotions are temporary. They're not permanent. And that I can walk through it. You know what I mean? And I finally now am like, oh, shoot, I'm feeling this emotion. What am I going to walk through now? Oh, gosh. Am I ready for this?
Right. Well, I think like emotions are, because I suppressed a number of emotions through the years, and for a variety of reasons. Mostly because I kind of felt like I had to bear the weight for other people and somehow protect them because I'm strong enough that I can take it.
Right.
And then also like burying my emotions because I didn't feel safe enough to share them with people, because I felt if I share my emotions with you and I really tell you how scared I am, or I'm like on one side, like how afraid I am, then I feel like you could destroy me with that information. Or if I tell you how happy and engaged I am, and then I find out that you're not, then I'm alone.
Vulnerability, right?
Until you realize that, and it's interesting because, I also grew up in the church, and so I couple it with this idea also, the idea that I do believe. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm also a child of God, and so you really can't take anything from me. I'm already complete in myself. I know that, but like feeling it and connecting, it, trusting it, and walking in that are way two different things.
Yeah.
Connected. It's just like, it's hiding. It's like hide from here, hide. It's like weave and dodge.
Yep. It's what did my dad always calls it faking the funk. You're in it, but you're not in it.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you feel it.
Oh yeah.
Vulnerability, when you're in it, like I think just recently, probably about a month ago, they had a big, I think I had like 25,000 views on lessons from someone in recovery.
Oh.
And man, I didn't realize how inspiring it was going to be for people, because all the things that I've been working on, God, my vessel, my higher power was using me as a vessel just to speak. I mean, I felt like Superwoman, even though there's no such thing. I felt empowered. And the reason why I felt empowered is because I was as vulnerable as can be. Yeah. And I understand that with vulnerability comes a lot of emotions as well. But being able to be vulnerable with the right people, being able to know why it's important to get those things off your chest, why it's important to feel. I always tell a lot of the people that, I recovery coach, I tell them, whoever feels the most wins. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean? When I ask you how you're feeling and you can pinpoint that, that is showing that you have the courage to change the things you can, because you're willing to go that extra mile to be the best you for you, right? Yeah. Whether it's temporary, whether it's permanent, mainly it's not. It's temporary. And how you deal with it on a day-to-day basis is what forms you, because everything is in the now, So why not live for that?
Yeah, right? No, I agree with you. One of the thoughts that comes to my mind is emotions are just information.
Oh, yeah.
Not reality. It's just information about reality. and it's one of the perspectives. It's whatever I'm feeling in here. And I years ago, I made a list for myself. It was my 5-year plan. And, because everybody has to make a 5-year plan. I'm kind of a big planner. So I made this 5-year plan. I put 2 sections on there. One were things I wanted to be and things I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so an example of something I wanted to be was I wanted to be less afraid. I wanted to be more adventurous.
Right.
And one of the ways I wanted to do that was I wanted to learn to rock climb. I wanted to climb a mountain because I was afraid of heights. I didn't want to be afraid of heights. I didn't want fear to be this controlling element in my life. And so I thought, I live in my head a lot of times, but my thought was if there's 2 people standing on the edge of a cliff and one person's afraid and the other person isn't, what's the difference? Because they both have the same circumstance. One person experiences fear and one person does not experience fear. Mm-hmm. What's the difference? I thought there must be something that the person who is afraid doesn't know, that the person who's not afraid must know. Mm-hmm. And if I could learn what that information was, then I wouldn't have to be, subject to this fear.
Nope.
Because it's fear really of the unknown.
Exactly.
Things that might happen, but as soon as you discover, like, no, I'm safe. Oh, mm-hmm. I'm safe. Great. Well, there's no reason to be afraid then.
Right.
And it pushed me, then it helped me clarify and really define the boundaries of unsafe and safe instead of just like, oh, yeah, it's all unsafe. That's not true. A lot of rock climbing is extremely safe. Some of it, you should be afraid. And it's there to keep you from doing dumb things. So live with that. Yeah. And it's like this idea of I couple that with this idea of being a leader. The job of a leader, even when we're leading ourselves, is not first to cast a vision. Everybody's like, cast a vision, cast a vision, cast a vision, cast a vision. That's cool. But the first job of a leader is to clearly define reality. Mm-hmm. You have to define the present very clearly to understand where we are. Only then can we start figuring out where we want to go.
Exactly.
And that's where that idea, I think, like agreeing with you, this idea of like taking in those emotions and then, okay, well now why am I feeling this? That's my reality.
And what is it when you talk about people who are vulnerable? I'm vulnerable because of the things that I'm vulnerable about, I have walked through. I've done work on that vulnerability, so I feel safe. Right. I'm able to, you said it before, the person who's afraid hasn't walked through that emotion yet. Because really what's on the other side may not be that bad, right? But sometimes we don't even give ourselves a chance. Like, you want me to be vulnerable and tell you what? Well, we'll just worry about this next week because I'm not doing it, right? But as soon as you get vulnerable about one piece and you realize that walking through it was easier said than done because you focused on what it was, you had people with you while you did it, if you needed. Yeah. Now you can move on to the next because it's temporary, not permanent, and you're in the now. That's a perfect moment to give yourself an opportunity to be vulnerable for you. So that you can continue walking through, right? So that was one of the biggest pieces. Is like, you want me to tell you all my business? I don't even know my business. I don't know how I feel about telling you my business.
I don't want to investigate it because if I don't, then
I might knock myself out trying to investigate. Exactly. Give me some time.
I don't care if you don't like me. I don't like me.
Right. Let me come to terms with this first and figure out how I can get to the point of walking through and learning to love me, right? By validating. I mean, I remember the first time I cried, it was like 13 years since I had cried.
What?
And I was like, it put me into like stroke mode the next day. I cried for literally probably 15 hours straight. This is all through treatment. I was like, I'm on autopilot. Who the hell am I? Who am I? It's like I lost every little bit of me. And slowly but surely, I was allowing my authentic self to slowly show up. Yeah. But boy, oh boy, it took some time. And that first element of crying, I thought I was sick. I was like, I think somebody's got to take me to the hospital because is there such thing as not being able to stop crying? Can somebody diagnose me? I could not understand how this could be. You know, I was hurting, woke up the next day, my face hurt, you know, I was still crying. I woke up crying. I said, okay, something's wrong, guys. Something's wrong. And then finally, you know, out of nowhere, I was like, that felt good.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm crying. And I don't even know why I have to have a reason. It's about damn time I started crying.
Yeah.
And then I knew then, I was like, I think I'm going to go to work on myself. I think it's time for me to go to work on myself and figure out, I got the courage to do this.
Yeah.
You know, people may say some things and people may feel some ways, but you know what? Ultimately, the only person that can be better for me is me. And since I came in this world by myself, you know, I'm probably going to leave this world by myself. I might as well get to know myself. So let's start with the emotions so I can start living life again versus being held captive to these emotions and suppressing them, right? So ultimately, that's where I've been. And it's like little things like being grumpy. I mean, while being sober, I suppressed the art of being grumpy because I didn't want to be grumpy around anybody. Yeah. But I didn't even realize I was grumpy. So for 4 days, I was just like, I don't care. You know, just in that bad, snotty, grumpy mood, right? And then all of a sudden, 4 days later, I had this big outburst. Yeah. And that big outburst was, oh my God. I'm supposed to, when I get grumpy like that, I'm supposed to say, it's okay to the person I'm grumpy with, right? And find space, give myself space to just be. All of that little thing came from one emotion, grumpy. And I'm like, I've been like holding in that and probably blowing up at people and not even realizing that what's underneath it is I need my time and my space to just be. Right. Just give me my space.
Totally. Yeah, well, and I think from as capable individuals, or I think that we become programmed to have to be there. Like, you want me here. I'm good at this. I keep showing up. And so therefore, I can hold this for all of you.
Yeah, yep. I'm strong for you. Mm-hmm.
Peace out, mofos.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
I don't even know when, and you're just gonna have to figure it out yourself.
And that's it. I think it might have been Frank Sinclair. You know, you start to say like, that's not my shit.
Totally.
That's not mine. I think I'm gonna give it back. This is it.
Yeah. I wrote. There was. I can't. It's not on my monitor anymore. But I had a little piece of paper, a saying that I read in a book. It's like about 3-4 years ago, maybe 3 years. 3 years ago. This book. It said, "Am I willing, at this time, to make the investment required to make a positive difference on this topic?" Because I found myself getting involved in all sorts of things because, again, capable individual, people keep asking, I keep helping, it's in my nature, I like to be liked, I like to be needed, I want to help, I want to give all the things that I know. And then I'm just being spread so thin.
So thin.
And like you say, get a little bit pissed off at the end of the day, which I don't even like me in that moment. I know that you don't like me, but I'm just trying to do my best to make it through so that you don't like me even less. You know? And,
give me some space.
Right. And it was really just because I kept getting involved with the things that I didn't, there was not enough energy for me to apply to make a difference anyhow. So why apply anything? Like, why keep going against the speed bump and rolling back? Like,
exactly.
Either go over it or just don't go that direction. And I couldn't say.
And you're right, because once again, we talk about in, you know, our sobriety, the Serenity Prayer.
Right.
Okay. Serenity Prayer can be used anywhere. And I would advise anybody that doesn't break the Serenity Prayer down and what it means to you, do it.
Yeah.
Because when I did it, I was like, Oh my goodness. It's exactly what you just stated. It's the courage to change the things you can, but the wisdom to know when you're getting outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Like when you are all of a sudden making somebody else's life your life, you need to take a step back and realize what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're trying to show up for everybody but yourself.
Yeah.
So you're getting outside of yourself, right? So the courage to focus on the things that I control on a daily basis have to do with me. They don't have to do with anyone else, because I don't know what everybody else is battling. So
Right.
to try to jump into somebody else's battle, probably get yelled at by the person I'm jumping into their battle, you know, so that's even worse.
Yeah.
Makes me meddle. And meddling because I want to distract myself from myself is something that we have all done, but I definitely did it in my addiction. I didn't want to work on the fact that I had autoimmune conditions and I was hurting, or that I drank because I had trauma, right? I didn't want to deal with that, but I could fix everybody else.
Right.
So what do you become? This fixer, this person who thinks that I'm doing it, I can fix it, I got it. You're not fixing anything for you.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you look up and everybody else is fixed and you're left with nothing.
Yeah.
Having to tell people, I'm sorry, but I need to take some of my love back because I got to heal these wounds. How do you do that? Through your emotions and what you feel, right? So, I mean, so seeing all of that still surfaced around emotions.
Totally.
Still surfaced around it, but it made it real deep because I started taking a look at me and going, I really do meddle. Like I really do try to enable people to fix their lives, to appease myself, because I don't want to work on me. Well, I think it's about time I start working on me. So you'd be surprised the way people look when you're like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that, but what do you suggest?
Yeah.
Think about their emotions.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they're in denial as well. That's the other thing. To think that we are any different than anyone else is ridiculous. We're all the damn same. And and we all have these underlying, some people have the core fear, like, and they don't want to talk about it. You know, and some people are looking at themselves and they kind of know what they're seeing. They're like, hell no, I don't want to be that person. And they shy away from it, right? Some people are holding a bunch of stuff and like, I'm the king of the world. I'm your savior too.
Yeah.
We all have something that we're struggling with.
Yeah.
And we are afraid, like you say, we're deathly afraid to just speak it out.
Yeah.
What would happen if I told you that I'm an addict? Like,
Right.
oh my God.
Yeah.
You're done forever. Like, what would happen? And all of a sudden, what you find out is like, oh my God, somebody said it. I am too. Hey,
yeah. Thank God.
I am too. I am too. I am too. I am too. I am too.
We all addicts. Yeah.
This. How can we help each other? That's what generally happens. People come out of the fucking woodwork. You're like, I was dealing with that too, and I was so afraid to tell anybody. Like,
Yep.
Me too.
Right. It's the gift of, like, my mom, she was asking me, she was like, Sparkle, do you realize how inspiring that might have been, talking to people? And I'm like, I think. She's like, what do you mean you think? I'm like, shit, I was just talking about where I'm coming from the heart. Like, I had to get this off my chest. And I needed to let people know that, like, through this and having the gift of being an addict, man, it has opened my eyes to so many things. And it's such a blessing. And I just took a jump. I just got vulnerable and said, forget it. This is for me, you know? And some people take, like, being selfish as not, no. This is different. This is different. This is a feeling of empowerment that people are afraid to explore. Be curious about yourself. You know, love yourself and all the different little tinkers that you have involved in you. Yeah. You find that you will learn to love you because of it. But we don't take the time to know ourselves. We take the time to know everyone else who doesn't know themselves either. So how does that work? How do we have conversations with people who don't know themselves and we don't know ourselves either? We're not.
Well,
We're
those are,
saying we're communicating.
yeah, and those are the times when you get together with people, and I've definitely been in these situations too before. It's like the conversation goes around and around and around and around and around, and then like 2 or 3 hours later, you leave the conversation like nothing has happened.
Where did we go? Yeah.
In the exact same space, only now we're even more angry about whatever it was we were talking about. We found somebody to agree with me.
Yes.
Just about this too.
And the issue comes down to this. What I've noticed is I was like, I got to take this all the way down to, if I must be doing this, I'm going in. I'm going in on myself. Okay, we about to do this. I pass out. I'm like, oh Lord, is anybody here with me? You know, I gotta ask myself a lot of questions. Yep. I asked myself, I said, let's just take the essential things we do, like listening. I reflect on every conversation I had, you know, with my ex-fiance, and I was like, I did not listen to one thing he said. I am not the greatest listener at all. Why? Because I've never practiced listening. Okay, I say I'm a good listener, just like I say I'm great at basketball. Now, I am a good basketball player, but boy, oh boy, it took a lot of practice. So how can I have things like listening and communicating and patience be what I'm so great at if I've never practiced it? Meaning that most of my responses were not responses. I was reacting. I was just waiting for the moment to react and just say, I didn't hear nothing he said, but I'm a great listener. And then that's how I went around in circles and circles and circles. And finally, I met up with him after I got sober, and I just sat there and I just listened to what he said. And then finally, I validated, okay, I acknowledged what he said. I validated his emotions and what he was feeling, and I could find compassion for him and myself. Like, he's been trying to say this to me for a very long time. And we have been going around in circles for a very long time. And finally, he's just stopped. And I said, and how does that make you feel when I don't listen? All of a sudden, we were getting somewhere. And then I finally was letting him know, if you just give me an opportunity to finish what I'm saying and just listen and learn to respond before reacting to me, we can get somewhere and actually be happy with the conversation. And that is practice. Most people in a relationship are like, so we're getting a divorce. Nobody's listened to anybody for 15 years because you're going around in circles. And the reason why is because we haven't practiced these simple things that we think we're so great at. But we should step back and give ourselves a chance to practice it through our emotions by acknowledging it and validating it and then having the compassion to understand if we were right or wrong about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's wild.
I was going through this book. I've got a person I'm reading some books with, and there's a book that was talking about, and I believe this, that relationship difficulties are at the root of it. Some emotion related to the connection between the two people. And generally some fear around that or anger around that, because we are wired to be so closely connected with one another. And when we get in a relationship, many of us are afraid of the disconnection.
Oh yeah.
And whatever's happening out there, it's somehow related to that connection point. And we just don't know how to express it that way. We don't know how to, because we're not, like you say, we're not in tune with our emotions, much less the emotion like your emotions. Like I don't know what you're feeling.
Right.
And then how does that affect the connection? Because the swirl of stuff, and like you say, it's a skill. Some of these things are skills that can be learned through time. Some of us might be innately better at them than others. Like you are innately better at basketball. I'm a terrible basketball player. I've tried. It doesn't click. My body doesn't move in that way, right?
Right.
But I can lift weights. Like I know how to do the weightlifting thing. But I learned that when I was a 36-year-old guy. Like I never did that before. It was the
Right.
things I learned, you know?
Hmm.
And relationships, I think, are the same. We really,
Yes.
we have to practice them, but we really have to know. Well, this is why you talk about this idea of being selfish. Like, people term it as selfish. Oh, you're working on yourself. You're going to back away from us, and you're just going to be alone.
Hmm.
No, because until I can be good for me, I can't be good for you. That's
I
absurd.
can't show up.
Yeah.
Right.
And you want
I
me to show
can't.
up because the world needs me for me, and the world
Yes.
needs you for you. But it
Hmm.
doesn't need us being like weaving and dodging.
Right. So, and I think that's the thing that we look at communication wise, a lot of times, even me and my ex, we talked about the fact that the first time I asked him how he was feeling one morning when I was going through this, he got like really mad at me. And I was like, um,
Wow.
just wondering how you're feeling. Why? Because I had been through asking myself how I'm feeling for the day so that I know how I can show up for the day.
Yeah.
Like each day when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, Sparkle, how are you feeling today? Well, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm tired. Not because I'm lazy, because remember, we have choices, the positive, the negative, whatever. But because you know what? Did I get enough rest last night? What can I do to get more rest? But I know where I'm feeling and I know where I'm at right now. So that means that when I go to talk to somebody, I can let them know, you know what? I'm pretty exhausted today, so bear with me. How easy is it for me to communicate how I want to be treated by my feelings so someone knows?
Yeah.
But if I don't ever let anybody know and they don't ever let me know, we all just walking around not saying nothing.
Totally.
And then we're saying, but we're great communicators. We do what we talk all the time, but we don't, right?
Assumptions about what the other person is, why the other person did what they did. You're responding to me because, and then that is a whole new problem because now we've overlaid on assumptions, and that turns into belief. Belief is a troublesome thing because we act out of what we believe, and belief rarely has anything to do with actual facts. It's just what we decided to believe.
Yes, it's just what we exactly. So all of a sudden, we're going around in circles, and it's getting heightened, and the whole thing was about how are you feeling today?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I was married for 20 something years. I'm technically still married, so going through my divorce. 20 years. One of the things I've learned through divorce is to be assertive in my relationship in some ways that I would have backed down, in other ways. And the truth is, I was, and to some degree, I'm still a little afraid. I'm afraid of this woman who I've cared about, loved, still love, right? Don't like our communication at all,
Right.
ever. And so we got to these points where we had like things to discuss about life, and I would just be like, okay, well, whatever you want to do,
I'm
or
good.
back away, and I'd build a life outside of her. Meanwhile, we've got 3 beautiful, amazing children, and I sheltered them and the world and whatever from the problems that we were having, and so everybody's like, oh my God, you guys were having trouble? It's like, yes, for years. We just smile to you.
Yep. That's what we do. Yeah.
Ask the stuff that's going on between us by hanging out with our friends, because our friends are great and we get along with our friends. We don't so much get along together.
Yep. Because we distract ourselves from ourselves.
Totally. And it was just, for me, it was built in fear. I'm afraid. And here's why I'm afraid. And a lot of it was like, I'm afraid about me sometimes. I'm afraid maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I've screwed up. And because of because, and this is I think an important topic as well. It's like the other people the other people around us have responsibility to create safety.
Oh yeah.
And we need to be very careful about who we invite around us, especially when we're going to go, like you say, be vulnerable to somebody. We got to be careful. There's a wisdom to knowing when to shut your mouth and when to say what you need to say, and who you need to say that to. Because otherwise, if I didn't share because the environment was not safe, hands down, unsafe for me.
Right.
Which doesn't have to be doesn't make it the reality for everybody else. Doesn't
Right.
make it her reality. It's just my reality, and that's okay. And I didn't realize that it's okay. It's just my reality.
Right.
I might even be wrong about it because I
But
don't
it's
have enough
okay.
information yet. I don't know.
Yep. And that's the problem too. I think one thing I can say and I commend you on is the fact that as you're walking through your divorce, right?
Yeah.
You are researching your divorce. No different than people who are going through relapse should research their relapse. And the reason why is because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. Okay? That's how it works. And we're going to do some great things, right? But when things are not going great and when things don't feel good, let's walk through it and figure out what it is that's happening and how we got here in the first place or how we don't want to be here again, right? So it's important to do that. You know, somebody asked me, they said, you know, Sparkle, I relapsed. My family was mad at me. I said, okay, have you failed the test before? And he goes, well, yeah, I failed the test. I said, did you show your family? He's like, yeah. I said, were they really mad at you and they were just pissed off? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what did you do? He's like, I went and researched the answers I got wrong. So when I retook it, I would get an A.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So why can't you do that with your relapse? Why are we taking it to a totally different level when all we really got to do is research it, figure out where we got the damn things wrong, and then go back in there and score an A. And if we don't score an A and we get a B, then let's figure that out too. But let's be curious about ourselves enough to know that we did okay and we walked right through it. Now on to the next, right? What's my next best move? And I think ultimately, if we can do that with a lot of the things that we feel are challenges, once again, when you get on the other side, it wasn't that bad, you know, but research it, figure it out. And you might even giggle at yourself like me and my ex did and go, we didn't listen at all. What were we doing? We were just talking. We don't even know who we were talking to.
Yeah. I agree. Some of these things that are like the things of life, which are central to our core, like who we are as humans.
Core beliefs.
That like it seems to heighten the. It's beyond a test, right? It's not, we almost feel like we can't correct these things in public.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we can't fail and try it again.
Mm-hmm.
That like what then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we set ourselves up, I think, in many ways, and we certainly set each other up for this idea that we cannot fail
Mm-hmm.
among all of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I've really failed.
Right.
There's no coming back from it.
I cannot.
Never.
Yep.
Right, and that's where I think we have to normalize this idea of failure. And I don't know if it was just, I don't know where this comes from, but in like launching a business, you have to normalize the idea of failure because your business might fail,
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay. You're not a failure. So start again, but normalize the idea of failing as we grow as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have one belief today and change it tomorrow based on new information.
Right.
And also to go, oh gosh, I was so wrong.
Yes.
That crazy thing I believed, I'm so far from that now. I don't even know why I believed it. It was based on nothing.
And it's okay.
Right.
Give yourself permission to say it's okay. Like I think the big piece is that we feel like we got to be in these parameters of something we created because really and truly it's okay. Mm-hmm. If you have a belief today that changes tomorrow because all of a sudden something else comes to enlighten you, then why can't you change that? Yeah. You can change the way you are and you don't have to have a reason because you're doing it for you. You do it for you to understand better. And so I think for me, that's what's important about, you know, our emotions and about standing through them is that knowing that it's okay. I give myself permission to be grumpy. I don't care. You be mad if you want to. Go be over there and be mad because I'm grumpy already. Give me my space. It's okay. When I'm crying, please, when I'm crying, don't ask me why I'm crying. Let me process crying. Give me my space to cry. And I shouldn't have to have a reason why I'm crying. Maybe I'm just crying.
Yeah.
Why do I need to? We always want to tell people, don't cry. Don't be scared. Well, why not? I'm scared.
Yeah.
And let me be scared. For this moment, let me be scared and you step aside. Because this is me with having a conversation of scaredness with me. Okay?
Yeah.
So once I get through that scaredness or that sadness or whatever, and I have time to process it, then I'm okay. But don't tell me how to feel. Don't ever let anybody tell you how to feel. That's the first thing I learned. And then I started realizing all the people that were around me were telling me how to feel. Even once I got sober, I was like, oh, there goes someone trying to tell me what I feel. Ask me how I feel, but then tell, no, I already know how you feel. Don't worry about it. But I didn't get to, seriously? Don't tell me. And then look, I started getting attitudes like, don't tell me how to feel. Like, no, I'm sad, you know?
Leave me alone.
Yes, I'm sad. No, you're fine. You'll be okay. Why are you telling me this? Like,
I did it for a long time. I wanted to correct bad emotions. I wanted to correct sadness.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I wanted to correct shame. I wanted to correct like anger. I wanted to correct all those things. Like, do take the 3 steps. If you can tell me why you're angry, I'll take 3 steps and I'll correct it. Ta-da.
Yeah, I'll fix it.
I'll make you less sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll make myself less sad. And I'll make myself less angry. And I'll, like, instead of, like you say, just be present. Just be present with it. And then ask, okay, what's underneath that?
Yes.
What's the root of what's going on? Because until you get to the root of what's going on, nothing will ever get changed.
Right.
You'll just be back here again, like you say. You have to do so. Like for my divorce, I've done a lot of work. I went through a dark period of shame, where I was like, I am the worst human being ever.
Mm-hmm.
I am the worst father. I am the worst husband. I am the worst friend. I am the worst. And all of these people are gone out of my life, and I will be alone forever. I probably deserve that because I'm bad at relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I think I'm even when I think I'm trying and I think I'm doing a good job, no, you're not. You're terrible at them. You should be alone. Why even be around? Does it even matter? Did anyone really care anyhow?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, whoosh. And I would go into this dark place. And 3 days later, I'd come popping back out and be like, okay, I can breathe now. Okay.
I'm breath and breathe.
I think I might be okay.
Mm-hmm. The processing.
Like,
the first time I learned the gift of processing, you know what I mean? Yeah. The first time I learned that gift of processing, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so muddy, and just get it off of me. Stop. I don't want it anymore. Somebody take it. And everybody's like, nope, you can sit with it. Learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm like, this is awful. Who let somebody sit in this? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I mean, finally, my mind just got going. Like you said, I feel this way. What is this? I was acknowledging it. Okay. Yeah. Then I validated, well, shit, I'm going to feel like this for a little bit. So might as well start trying to find some compassion for it.
Yeah.
I got to lick my wounds. I got to make it work some way. Where can I find compassion for me in this? Because I got to give myself grace. I'm human. I can't take all this on like this. I got to figure out why the processing is so important in order for me to even walk through it, to understand the emotion, right? And then there I am. I'm okay. You know, I did it. But it was like, I got to do this every time I have an emotion. I got to do this every time that I am in a dark spot. I better start getting used to this. I better practice.
Yeah.
So you practice that. You win. You win because you win for yourself. You're not winning because you're in competition with anybody. You win because you're like, man, I went through sadness. Whew. Whew. How the heck did that happen?
Yeah.
And I feel good. I feel good that I went through it and I could do it.
And like that time when you said you found that you cried, for 15 hours, your body
Yeah,
too. Like our brains, our hearts, our bodies are so interconnected that
right.
we have to let our body experience it too. Everything needs to, we need
Mhm.
to be washed in
Yeah,
whatever we have to feel at that point and just let it be. It's not, like you say, it's temporary, whether it's a great high or a terrible low.
yep,
Wash yourself in it. Your body needs to feel it. Your brain needs to feel it. Your heart needs to feel it. And then
yes,
what's on the other side is amazing.
yes. Because you're like, I could breathe.
Yeah.
All of that I held on to for me to just be able to breathe, and that took me, it was temporary. What? And this is what I'm afraid of? Wait a minute. And then I'll never forget being angry. And I was my first time I'm practicing meditation. And when you first do meditation, this is me meditating. I have my eyes closed, and they said a 10-minute meditation, and you're gonna be good, and it's guided. And I'm like, oh God, I'm not really a meditator, this ain't my thing, So close my eyes and they get started. And all of a sudden my mind is like, I wonder what I'm gonna eat today, and I wonder what I'm gonna all these things. And next thing you know, like I go, what am I doing? Like my eyes are closed and I'm like, what am I doing right now? I forgot I was meditating. This is how bad I was at meditating, Jason. I forgot I was meditating. Okay. And I was like, oh, we're still meditating. So I've gotten better at it. But how it happened is I was really angry. I was really mad. And there was this class that I decided to take for an hour and a half of meditation. And then there was a lecture. And so I was angry and I was mad. And one of my mentors was like, just take the class because you just got a lot of anger, Sparkle, and you just need to figure this out. I'm like, don't tell me how to feel once again. So the first question he said was, ask yourself, how does anger hurt you? Close your eyes and think about it. Oh my God. Thinking about how anger hurt me exhausts me. I was like, oh my God. He's like, you're in traffic and you're angry. But do you ever think about it? You could possibly be in traffic and be angry and then get into a car accident that's a 10-car pileup and you're on the bottom because of your anger. Anger makes you exhausted. Anger is like, oh my God, it makes you overreact. You get stressed. I mean, there's times when my conditions the next day, I could barely walk, all because of this anger that was holding on to me and the person I might have been angry at, right? And then next thing you know, he goes, but I'm going to take it a little further. And I'm like, well, I'm already exhausted about thinking about my anger. I think I'm good. And that was the first 10 minutes in. I'm like, oh my God, an hour and a half of this? You got to be kidding me. He goes, now do this. Ask yourself how you can find compassion for the person you're angry with. I was like, oh my God. You want me to find compassion for somebody I'm mad at? That don't make no damn sense. I'm leaving. No.
Right. Exactly.
But I did. I sat there and I was like, I was mad at that person. And then when I called back to apologize for my anger, come to find out that person was evicted and living in their car and they were having a really bad day. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
It made me hurt because I was like, I had to just for a second to put myself in someone else's shoes and be like, no wonder that person is angry at me,
Yeah.
And then find compassion for myself to say that it's okay, you didn't know. But now that I do know, before I blow off and get upset and overreact, what has that person got on their plate? Let me halt. Let me think about, let me be patient. That 2 seconds of trying to figure out what may be under my anger, right? Like we said it, secondary emotion is anger.
Yeah.
So am I in fear of something? Am I scared? Am I sad? But give myself the time to do it. Why am I overreacting? If I give myself time to respond, I will be able to find compassion for the person I'm angry with. Mm-hmm. And so each and every time that something bothers me, I ask myself that daily. well, how does anger hurt me? I play the tape through. I'm going to be waking up tomorrow. My back's going to hurt. I don't know why. My lupus is flared up. I'm not able to drive. And all because I was angry about somebody who had a horrible day. And I couldn't see that. I couldn't take 2 seconds to see that.
Yeah.
You know, checking myself at the door saying, really? You're mad about getting over in the right-hand lane? This person lives in their car. They're upset. And then I go and cut them off. Okay, great. They're not having a good day. You know, how do you do that? And it humbles you as a person. It takes you back down from that overwhelming feeling to just feeling humble and saying like, I got through that emotion.
Yeah. No, that is so true. I think, I mean, it's, I think you're the connection that you're making there is so important. I don't think we just don't know each other. No, nobody knows anybody anymore. Not really. We know a form of what you want us to know, and we know mostly bullshit on social media.
Yep.
But we don't know each other. And I think that's really harming us. I think if we knew our neighbors,
yep,
we would have no choice but to be compassionate in many cases. Or if we couldn't find compassion, at least we could find boundaries. And those would be healthy boundaries for ourselves. Like, great, I'm not going to be treated the way you intend to treat me. Fine, boundary, done.
Yep.
Because we don't have another way through. Or, wow, like you say, man, you're really dealing with some shit. How about we, like, come over, why don't you come over for dinner? And how about I make you some food because you don't have any food? Like, I don't know what people are going through. I admit it. You like, and I think, like you say, when you know that those other pieces of information about somebody else, now all of a sudden you have that connection, and the whole
compassion,
the belief changes, and then the action changes.
Yep.
Everybody's bitching about action and bitching about belief, but we're not going the next step further.
Exactly.
Saying, okay, well, we don't know each other.
Right. And the thing is that that's where you find the compassion for yourself too, because you don't go the step further. You immediately beat up yourself. We immediately say we're not doing right. We don't ever say like, but I'm human and I did make the mistake and it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I got this. You know, we don't give ourselves compassion. If you can't give yourself compassion, how are you going to give anybody else compassion? How are you even going to be able to find out what that is? To find that, you got to work through that. And the way is for me to tell you how I'm feeling. You may not know me. We just met each other, but I can tell you right now, I'm feeling extremely happy about being in this moment with you in this time and in the present. I don't care about what's around me or what's happening next because it's not there, but I do know I'm here now and I'm happy because of that. And I feel more enlightened, right? You know how I feel. Now, you may not ever meet me in person, but you know how I feel. And you may feel that connection now because you can say, God, you know what? We had a good talk. She felt inspired. I felt inspired. That's cool, right?
Well, that's exactly why I set up this whole Coffee with Humans thing, because I was feeling disconnected. There were some relationship changes in my life, which I was terribly uncomfortable with. And I thought, well, I'm not going to let that negativity pull me backwards. I refuse to sink. Right. I know what it's like to sink. I'm not doing that shit anymore.
I ain't doing that.
I'm going to use this for strength and all this angst. I'm going to use that power. I'm going to harness this, and I'm going to go off, and I'm going to make it so easy for people to connect, because I fully believe that when two people get together or more and just come together as people, it's a sacred space, and we have the power to use that space for anything we want.
Yep.
And there's two primary I'll call it three energies that people have that nothing else on the planet has: the ability to name things, the ability to create things, and the ability to destroy things. Mm-hmm. We have three unique talents that nothing else has. Everything else just kind of exists in what it does. All the stuff around us just kind of exists. It bends to our will constantly.
Right.
But we can name what's going on. We can name where I'm at. We can name where you're at. We can understand the present. And then we can choose to create something great from that, or we can choose to destroy it entirely and say, out of malice, or we can destroy things that don't belong anymore. We say, no, this thing that was there, we don't need that. It's gone. And we create something new. But we can only do that when we join together.
Yeah,
with those intentions.
exactly.
And that's what I love about this coffee, this thing. I gave it a brand, Coffee with Humans, just to make it approachable.
Right,
Instead of like weirdo, talk to the weirdo in the camera. That would be
right.
unapproachable. Hey, Coffee with Humans. And they're like, oh my God, it's so cute, Coffee with Humans.
Right. I think that's the thing. And I feel, but like you said, connection is huge. I think conversation, listening to what people have to say. Like I said, it's one thing to be curious about yourself, but it's really great to tell people what you're curious about yourself with,
Yeah.
because some people find it intriguing and they may give you something you didn't know about yourself as well by just listening.
Yeah.
And so being able to practice that and have a good, healthy conversation is needed always, and I think that's during the pandemic. I think that's what we lost as well, that connection at times, So
we did. We lost some of that personal connection, just the intimacy from being so close,
yeah.
proximally to one another. But I think it also gave us an opportunity to connect to people we normally wouldn't have connected to.
Yes.
If we choose to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
There's great power in that. We are good. I think it's a gift to be able to easily classify and silo, because that helps us make it through the day. Our brains are good. Our brains are terrible at little details, but they're really, really good at quickly moving through lots of stuff.
Right.
As evidenced by the fact that we woke up this morning, we accomplished probably tens of thousands of little micro decisions throughout the day. And then we safely came here tonight, and nothing major happened.
Right.
There were only a handful of things that we actually processed in our brains. Everything else was just like habitual.
Right.
And when we start to learn from one another, and not only just the people in our region, but globally, we as a human race are fascinating. We are amazing.
Yes.
And the things that we consider, for instance, struggles, have nothing. They're not struggles. You are blessed beyond compare.
Yes.
If you knew what was happening on the other side of the planet at this moment.
But, and you know what else? The fact that you also find that in yourself as you are curious about yourself and your emotions, you start to evolve into this superpower of your own. And then you add someone else's superpower of your own, creating, like you said, what we have right now, but we don't know what's happening on the other side. But we know what we have now, and it's strong, right? But when you get that feeling inside of you, and you're able to express that through your emotions and vulnerability, it's powerful, and it's inspiring, and it's infectious. Yeah. And that's where that connection comes from. That's that connection.
That's where people see it. And I see it in you. So when Frank's like, hey, Sparkle Lindsay's going to come on. Do you know who Sparkle Lindsay is? It's like, no, I don't. And he says, well, her father's a football player. And I was like, okay, cool.
Oh, great.
Yeah. and then I was like, and I was thinking, Sparkle, what a fantastic name. and I was like, that really, I mean, seriously, it's a fantastic name. I think people move into their names.
That's my name, man. Yeah.
And like my name is Jason, which is meaningless to most people.
Stop.
But I happen to know the etymology of it, and it means healer. And if I look at the role that I played in a lot of my life, it's been the ability to heal things. Because my gift of being able to quiet myself at times enables me to negotiate and work with a lot of people who can't get along. My gift can go awry, and I can quiet myself so much that I don't even know what I'm saying of what I'm feeling. And then I become detached from myself, right? It's the gift gone awry. Okay, great. Right. I'm learning how to integrate all that stuff and be able to be me.
Right.
And love it.
You're learning.
And you have this infectious energy of brightness, right? And I think what you've discovered and come through in your journey is that the storyline, the journey that you have is a journey that a lot of people have been on and are on right now. And it's dark. It is a dark, dark, dark journey.
Yeah.
That I think many people even by choice, even if they want to get out of, are so stuck chemically and physically that even the things that you want to do, you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey I consider myself blessed to have never been on. I had a grandfather who drank, and he was a severe smoker, and he died of throat cancer, which is a terrible way to go.
Yeah.
But like I was so detached from that,
Mm-hmm.
and largely a lot of the pain that I've caused in my life have been bad decision making, right, in a lot of ways, and not living out my truth, and not owning it, and not speaking it, instead of hiding. And so I don't know what it's like to be on the journey of addiction, but I do know there's a darkness to all of that.
You know what? In the journey, you're right, because the journey to addiction, what I have done and what I've done for myself is I have learned that the more I know about myself, the better. Alcohol doesn't even exist. It's there, but it doesn't define me. And the reason why it doesn't is because there's so many other emotional wellness going on in my life that I need to focus on. Drinking is just that Band-Aid. It's what's been suppressing me from my emotional wellness, my mental wellness, my physical wellness, my social wellness, my psychological wellness, getting to know me. It's in the way. But if I start working on those things, now we got a party. I'm completing the ultimate recovery package, my lifestyle of living, the way that I want to be now, a better me for me. And if I have to take alcohol along with it because it's still a part of me, it doesn't change all the things I did to create a strong platform for the ultimate recovery package for me. Yeah. Right? So putting all of that together creates nothing but a journey and a well-oiled machine. And it becomes fun because you can feel it. You can start to feel like you're moving things with your emotions and everything, and the control you have over yourself to let things be. Yeah. And so that is the point, is taking the act of addiction further and further in fighting for your life to take it back, no matter what addiction it may be, no matter what issue you may be dealing with. If you can go a little bit further and figure that out, you've created that new lifestyle you need to continue to be feeling refreshed and feeling light. But most people don't get there because they're scared. And it's through their emotions, you know? Yeah.
I think that it's pretty clear from our brief chat that you now have experienced what it's like to live in light or be a light. And as you talked about it, you started communicating your journey, and people were inspired by that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, I mean, it's necessary, right? Mm-hmm. Because somebody's got to be light in somebody's darkness. Mm-hmm. And it's a responsibility, I think, also. If you are the light for that person, it is your responsibility to stand up and be there. Hey, over here. And not that you take ownership of, like we talked about, I can't take ownership for you. I can't care more about this than you care. But I tell you what, I'm going to be here with you in your darkness. I'm sitting right next to you because I need you to stick around. I need you to talk to me. I need you to talk to yourself. I need you to, and I can learn from you. You can learn from me. Yep. Share that journey together. And I think that's kind of the essence of whatever people are dealing with. When we are all dealing with something, like, be there with somebody else and get to know them. Yep. And do honest work for yourself. Get to the core of you. Oh yeah. You can be there with somebody else, and you can get the core of them. And allow me to walk alongside you. Yeah. Okay. Let me be that person that, for the beginning, let me help you get your bearings. I'll be here for you to lean on just for a second while you get those bearings. And then from there, I'm behind you on everything, the decisions you make and what you choose. And if it's not right, we go back to the drawing board and we figure it out. Yeah. The whole thing is about the journey and figuring out where you're going to go and how it's going to make you feel. And then when it's not good and it's muddy, I'm still there. 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 I'm still there
And if we mess up and if there is relapse, I'm still there. The difference is that it is your life, and your life to mess up in it, your life to be the ultimate you in it, your life to actually be the better you for you. Yeah. No different than me trying to be the better me for me, right? And if we could do that together, we definitely can get somewhere and be inspired by it. I think that's, God, the feeling I've been having through this journey, and this journey will continue for the rest of my life. It has just been so eye-opening and just so inspiring for me and empowering, and I just know that during these times and any time, knowing that it can be done. It's not going to be easy, but it can be done if you're willing to fight for you.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit,
Totally. So are you doing this for your, just for yourself? Or are you like where are you at? How are you using this newfound knowledge?
So I work for Springs Recovery Connection in Colorado, and we're a nonprofit organization. And when I left my career, like for 13 years of an HR manager, I was like, man, what am I going to do? I can't go back to that. That's stressful, And so I ended up coming back. I ended up hearing about Springs Recovery Connection through my treatment center. And I was like, man, if I could just help people get recovered when they're getting out of treatment, or if I could help them with the aftercare and help them create their own complete recovery package, like I could just see all this transforming. Okay, so I walk up in Springs Recovery Connection, and they're looking at me like, this girl's got some big goals. She's 5 months sober. And she's talking about like taking over the world right now. What's wrong? Is she sober? So as I started getting through it, I started finding so many different ways to be creative and have a vision in helping others take their life back. And it became so cool that I had been working on a stepping stone, like, working with big companies to train people to own their own development. Well, now I was able to take one person at a time and help them own their own recovery by figuring out where they fit in their puzzle. And it's so cool because you find that puzzle piece and then it just clicks. But how do you find it? And there's so many different ways to find it. And so from there, I was like, well, I don't know. I got 3 recoveries. These are people who want to get recovered, and we're just going to try this out. Now, the ultimate, the most you should have is about 17 if you can. And it got big, and people were like, Sparkle, can you be my recovery coach, Sparkle? And I was like, oh, shoot. And they were like, I love your concept on figuring out my puzzle piece and this and that. And so I had to, we have other people that are recovery coach, and I had to start kind of passing some things off because I was hitting 20, 25, then I was like 30. I'm like, this is pretty wild, but it was so enlightening. It was so enlightening. Like tears of joy, like hearing people's experiences. I felt like I just had this glow, and I was so exhausted from happiness that when I got done, some days when I would get done, I'd be like, all right, everybody, we just got to take a nap. We just just take a nap. Yeah. It was great, but let's take a nap. Even feeling happy emotions, and I still feel that. And inside, it's like this feeling of jumping for joy, and just then next thing you know, my words just started forming. And I've always wanted to be an inspirational speaker. And next thing you know, they just start coming. It's like my higher power is speaking for me, speaking through me. Yeah. And I can't stop. It felt like I was just on a roll. I could talk for hours. And it's so cool because I feel it, and I know I mean it. I know I mean it, and I enjoy my authentic self and the skin I'm in, So that's what I'm at. We're here, and we have a huge abundance of people coming in, and we're trying to get coaches, and we're trying to find a bigger place to be at now. And we've got people donating and helping us. But the big piece is just that one little word, hope. Yeah. And right now, just a little bit of hope is making a lot of people want to be sober. And however long it takes, and working that one day at a time, it's just cool that knowing that I have started something and it's starting to build and it's getting there, you know?
Awesome. I think it's so fantastic, and I'm thrilled for you to be at this place in your journey, and then
Yes.
leveraging that and seeing, and like you say, when we're moving in who we are meant to be in this moment, great things can't happen, can just not help themselves but happen. I do believe that the universe bends itself to our will.
Yes.
And I am completely convinced of that, and I think that you're experiencing that too.
Yeah, I feel it, you know.
Awesome. Well, Arkle, this is amazing. I'm so glad Frank connected us up together.
I am too.
I really do love your name. I think
Thank you. No, I was telling Frank, I was like, man, Frank, I got all these words and I want to talk. He was like, girl, you need to be talking. What you talking about? You want to talk. You better start talking, you know?
You totally do. You're this gift. You are given a gift for your journey. And it is, I'm totally sure of it, that as you start communicating, it is like that beacon in the darkness.
Yeah.
And people are looking for the light and the hope, because they're sitting in darkness, and you found the way out. You've been given the way out. You've walked in it, and now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Stand up. Say, hey,
let's do this.
Let's do it. And your infectious energy and your strength, I think, that comes from the hard work that you've been doing, is what people are gonna be inspired by. Because if they're looking at you and they're like, yeah, great. If I can do it too, and at least she'll be here with me too. So
heck yeah. Well, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you. How is there any specific way I can be of value to you? Can help you in any way?
You know, if there's more people that would like for me to speak, or anytime you want to just come talk about different things, that's awesome too.
Awesome.
You know, if you know of some people that need inspiration or some type of speaking or inspiring them to go be a better them for them, wherever, resources, if people need resources, all of those things, Springs Recovery Connection as well, they can check our website and see that. We're the resource gurus, so you can probably figure out anywhere in any state as well what can help somebody get sober. So overall, if you just know anybody that's really just needing just a helpful ear or just some hope or some inspiration, let them know, you know, I'm here.
One of the things I love about Coffee with Humans are the raw conversations I get to have, meeting new people just like you. If you or someone you know should be on Coffee with Humans, go to coffeewithhumans.com. Remember, the only rule is no sales calls.
This has been Coffee with Humans. Subscribe to get updates or click to have coffee with me. coffeewithhumans.com.